Chemistry Higher Paper 2024, question 7. Well, we've got to it, folks. It's that electrolysis question that you've all been looking forward to. So here we have got some acidified water, so acids added to it, so it will conduct and electrolyze for 10 minutes using inert electrodes. So these are electrodes that won't react with anything. And we have to explain why acidified water is an electrolyte. So 1 mark for it contains ions. Now you could mention that they are hydrogen or sulfate. And then the 2nd mark for saying which can move. So remember, when you've got an electrolyte, the ions can move around. Then we have got our multiple choice question here. Hydrogen collects at the negative electrode, oxygen collects at the positive one. Which one shows the result after 10 minutes of this electrolysis? Now remember, we're electrolyzing water, which is H2O, so we should be producing twice as much hydrogen as oxygen. So we're having a look at what's going on here. Hydrogen collecting at the negative and oxygen collecting at the positive. We should be displacing more water out of the hydrogen tube. So here we've got a negative one. There's more hydrogen being produced here than the oxygen. That one is going to be our correct answer. Can't be B because they've both got the same volume. It can't be C because the negative one has hardly collected any. And it can't be D again because the negative one has hardly collected any, and that one either. So then we've got to complete and balance the half equation for the formation of oxygen at the positive electrode in this electrolysis. So this is the decomposition of hydroxide ions. You just need to learn this equation. It's very hard to work out otherwise. So there's 1 mark for having O2, H2O and electrons, and then the 2nd mark is for balancing it correctly. Okay, so then we've got the core practical that we did. So copper sulfate electrolyzed with copper electrodes, and we saw that the cathode has gone up in mass, and that the solution has stayed as a pale blue solution. What will be done to the copper cathode after it's been removed from the copper sulfate before we find that its final mass? So 1 mark for wash or rinse. That's to try and get all of the solution off it. And then 2nd one, we want to dry it. It really is that simple for these 2 marks. You could go into details about how that happens, but that's really all you've got to have said. And then explain in terms of ions the change in the mass of the cathode shown in figure 6. First off, we are saying that copper ions are reduced, and then the 2nd mark for saying that copper atoms are formed. If you'd given the half equation, which is Cu2 plus 2 electrons goes to copper, you get both of the marks. Okay. Explain why the appearance of the copper sulfate solution did not change during the electrolysis. So, first bit is for saying that the copper ions enter the solution so they're coming off the anode and they are going into the solution. And then you were saying that the Cu2 plus, at the anode, leave the solution at the cathode. So there is no change in concentration of Cu2 plus. So you've got a constant concentration because you've got copper 2 plus entering the solution at the anode, copper 2 plus is leaving it at the cathode, so therefore there's no change in concentration of copper 2 plus. So 1 mark for either of those, 1 mark for saying the concentration does not change. And that is question 7.